Hello, everybody. Welcome back to a new episode of Railway Empire 2. And before I actually set off with my next train, I'm going to focus on something else. Uh, the week before I recorded this, Steel Dragons, the latest DLC, as the current background also shows. The latest DLC of Railway Empire 2 is released. And we're going through the backgrounds here. This is from the Industrial DLC. Then we have Italy. Just so. And I've been playing Steel Dragons DLC a bit. Here we have India. And I have to say, it has some very nice new features. One of the things, of course, are the new trains. This is Switzerland DLC. The Balkan area DLC. So everything goes in reverse order. It should be the other way around, actually. And eventually the backgrounds from the main game. But as said, the new game has some nice features. And I've been playing a bit in China. Now I'm actually thinking, just for the looks, it doesn't matter where I start because it's only for the looks. So let's do the last starting here because that unlocks all industries and other most of the technologies. Let's start this one. It will take some time usually, but we'll see where we get. But this DLC is having some new features. First of all, several.
A new day, a new mission. And both of us in the middle of it. What more could you want? You'll have to get busy though, because you have several competitors. I've also created a task list for you.
Good. Now let's see what we have. 6 rural business, achieve express on Ulan Cup and Datong. Total cars with Kowloon, Dailang and She. Now this is funny because if I do this task, that's what we need to do. Shenyang. So actually before 1918, so with 8 years in the game, we can do this within 8 days. Silk tax is 60 cities, cloth production and milk. Okay, so we have, of course, loads and loads of the technologies unlocked, and that's the fun part. The later you start, you have a load unlocked. However, not everything. So everybody who thinks, hey, let's get that achievement for the having every industry unlocked. Well, hello, goodbye. It's not going to work because eventually you will have less points in the last month, in the last decade, as required to unlock everything. You just start at the start, done. What we did unlock, however, are lots of trains. Of course, we start, but that's actually odd, with the Rail Crusher. So that's actually odd, because if you look at the research bar, the rockets the Adler, the Derwent, Firefly, G&M American, Limmat, Jenny Lind, Iron Duke, the Rhine, Continent, Bourbonnais, Waverley, Dragon, Hulda, Mogul, Class F, Consolidation, Saxon, they're all unlocked already. West, Volcano, Class 121, Luxembourg, Clay, Fusion G5, here we are, Rocket of China. So everything is already actually unlocked. And yet we get everything starting here, Real Crush. So that's the first train we have unlocked. Then we've got the leg 1, electric, Class X, we have Old Mold, I'm not going to go over there. LNERES1, another electric, Lucian T16, next electric, or at least I think it is, yeah. Lucian EG511, so all of those are already unlocked. And then we get to the ones we haven't unlocked yet. And if I have to use this as a train, I can't even zoom out completely. Look at this. Look at this, also look at the speed, 151 kilometers an hour. That's actually faster as the electric trains are doing in the Netherlands. 120, 157 on the Scotsman, and 114 on the SSB AE4/7. So we got that. But what it actually is about is all of this. So we've got new goods, of course. Can't build them here. I need to find a city. We have a hemp farm. We can actually do flow goods here. We've got the chicken, but here we go. We have a chicken farm. And that chicken farm, let's zoom out for the sound, is actually, I can replace it for iron, but the chicken farm is in fact producing 3 different kind of goods. Poultry, eggs and manure. It is, however, also having a certain demand, either grain or rice. And basically this is something we saw in the Transport Fever game, that to produce something you have a demand as well. So if I go over to the grain farm, it actually requires manure. It probably works without manure. I haven't tested that, but production may be less slow. But you need manure to get the grain going, and you need grain to get the chicken and the eggs going, and manure. So this is already getting a very profitable business. simply because of the goods. On top of that, as you can see, this is indigo, I think. Yep. So as you can see, that's one of the new features here. The replacing of certain goods is something we've seen in the previous DLC already in there. So that's the same thing. But if we start looking at the flow of goods, this is everything we can produce. Lots of new goodies. Yeah, that's the common ones. Grain, poultry, rice, eggs, bamboo to replace the wood, sugar. Then we got the meat. That's basically poultry and meat is basically the cows and the meat we had. Hemp. Hemp is used for various stuff. Manure, kaolin, coal. Those two are required for porcelain. Tea leaves, ropes. That's where the hemp comes in for ropes. Paper. I don't know what's needed for that, but it wouldn't surprise me it's hemp again. Cloth, which then is used for clothing and textile offcut, and it's also possible paper is using offcut. Was the disadvantage the cities? I have to find one. Baking is doing paper mills. No, bamboo. Bingo. Now we can actually check things. Weaving mills requires hemp. Cloth requires clothing requires cloth, but you get that. The distilleries, grain and sugar. Paper mill, bamboo for paper. Steel plants, coal, iron for steel. Tool, we've seen that in bamboo and steel. For tools, we've seen that in my European map. That's something else we will discuss in a bit. Candies, rice, sugar, then we got the meat, the rope. Silk weaving mill. Aha, so we need textile offcut and indigo and raw silk to produce silk products. So that's a free raw materials before actually one is working. Tea industry, tea leaves for paper. That's odd. Noodles, again, free resources to produce one. Saltpeter, manure, medicine, saltpeter, sulfur, indigo, free to get medicine. Gunpowder, that's logic, free, but we knew that. Bicycles, wood, textile and steel to get bicycles. Fireworks, paper and gunpowder, porcelain, kaolin and tin. Cool. Now this is another feature that I can't use in my European map, but that's very useful. It's going to cost you money, don't get me wrong about that. But for 50,000 in construction cost and 500 a week, you can reserve a plot. So, suppose I have a big network here and I want to start, let me think, Iron, I have to find a nice spot for, well, never mind. I want to start the candy, is that demanding rice sugar, candy industry in Ulaanbaatar. Currently, I don't have even access, but it's the theory we're talking about. I want to do that. I want to start the silk, the candy industry over there. Yet, I don't have the finances, the 652,000 to build that industry. I also know that at some point the AI would actually build something there, and quite often something I don't want to be there. What I can do is build this reserved lot. With that, I basically take up the spot for the new industry, but nobody is able to build a new industry anymore. Nothing at all. So I can simply continue my game, collect the 652k I need to build that candy factory. Then at some point when I do have that money, demolish the reserved lot, build a candy factory, and problem solved. So with that, by doing that, I'm simply postponing building an industry somewhere, but it's a lot easier for me to set up the industries where I want them, making distribution of goods easier as well. So like, we've got coal here, we've got iron. I could in fact now consider Harbin to become a steel industry, and eventually even the porcelain too. So I can simply drop down the two reserved plots at some point, or one. Then at the point when I'm able to build the porcelain factory, build it. At some point city grows again, and I guess that drop a second reserve plot up to the point that I can build a steel plant. That's one of the best features this game has been added. I don't know if the same thing works on the European map, because I haven't tested that. So anything else hasn't changed. So let's find out. Main menu, and simply custom, starting at my normal city. Um, at some point I really have to play a map on the US map. I never made it. I always place Europe. It's funny. I started on India.
Good to see you. You have several competitors on this big map, and I've written down some tasks for you to start with. Follow them to get the highest score possible.
By the sound of it in the background, my cats are trying to. Here, one of the other easiest. The first city you can connect to is Eindhoven. Salt is more complicated. 8 salt net. That's okay, never mind. I'm not going to do anything. 2 cities train connections with Express. Yeah, that's something you can do too, because the moment I have Amsterdam, Eindhoven going, and I run passengers over there, or mail done. 38 cities, 3 express trains is easy, 16 industries, load of wool, 15, and furniture. So all of this, the furniture, the salt, and the 38 stations is, I think, the hard. No, owning 16 industries is the hardest. 38 stations is including the rural ones. But what I want to know, I don't see. Yep, look at this. We can actually change the corn for iron. So we can found industries up here. So some of the industries we had, here we are, founding clay, switching, livestock for coal, vegetables for iron. So that part is added to the European map as well. We need to figure out if there's any city without industry. I don't think so. No. Flow of goods is the same, so I don't have to go through there. So it's a little bit hard to check, but it wouldn't surprise me considering we saw the changing of goods here. That it wouldn't surprise me if the plot reservations are working in this map as well. So in general, you can manipulate the map a lot more. And yeah, I'm very happy with that. Now, here comes the next part, and that's the dilemma. Ooh, that was very close to a mistake. That's the dilemma I'm facing right now. The thing is that the more I have been expanding my network, the laggier this game actually has to become. And you can see it by the loading times we currently have. Hang on, I need to drink something. So we see that on the loading times. And well, it isn't that much of a problem. The thing is that if I want to do anything else to keep the game interesting, the best thing to do is to expand. However, if I expand, the game will require longer and longer loading times. That is not that much of a problem at the start of the game, but it will be the moment I start changing things on the map. And the reason I bring that up is this. I want to complete this game to the end, that's for sure. However, if I add more industries and everything like that, eventually the overhead lines expand into Britain and Scandinavia, I have no idea what the effect will be on the game. Oh, there's something else I need to discuss, but we can do that later. I have no idea what effect it has on the game. And I'm afraid that at some point, like, let's say I start expanding into Britain, at some point, things will be very complicated. Because let's say that I just have London as my key point, and I've decided to set up a train going from London, Cambridge, Birmingham, um, past those two, Sugar, that to Swansea, Bristol, following him, Plymouth, and then McCarthy, those two back to London again, and keeping London Dover, actually Brussels, Lille, Dover, London as a separate line. Let's say I've added that. That's my regular line running. At some point I want to go north, so we start working again through Wales, Holyhead, Liverpool, Manchester, York, going back to Manchester. I unpause the game and it takes multiple minutes before it actually catching up. At that point, you people are just facing a lagging map. And I don't think that's something that's actually nice to watch. So that's the dilemma. Because the more I am going to expand, the worse the game is going to be. And I'm afraid that at some point might as well buy this. At some point it will be a little bit or a lot unbearable. I'm afraid of that because I do this to entertain myself, of course, but I am also doing this to entertain you. So the real question will be at that point, what am I doing? So for now I will continue. This one is waiting for something. For what? I will continue everything I'm doing, but yeah, it's giving me doubts about should I continue this game all the way to the end, because what's also coming into mind is the fact that how am I going to spend the hour and a bit? Shall we ride along with the trains? Yeah, but at some point that may become boring. Um, yeah, of course we have research. We have new trains coming in at some point. I mean, 3, 6, 9, 1200 points, which is going to take it a while before we have the trains. So how am I don't know how to do that passing of time yet. And that's the whole thing. So at some point I will have to make a decision. And I don't know what to do. I do want to complete the game up to the end. End goal of this whole playthrough will be reaching the last technology. And having everything unlocked up there, meaning the crocodile and the mallet are going to be unlocked at some point. And yeah, when that's done, actually in the 1910s. So that's one of the things I really want to achieve. That's for certain. And I'm going to share that point with you guys. That's for certain too. But up to then, considering we're in 1860, no, 1850s, the biggest question is how to deal with everything. There is one other thing that is actually good news. Connection bonus here. Salt. Conveniently, okay. Very convenient actually that I can put a rail line there. Ah, you know what? Before I'm telling the last thing, I might as well do this first. At least this explains that. And for the non-German speaking people, something I didn't know, but Salzburg is actually probably mean Salzburg. So a stronghold or something built there to protect salt mining. I always had the idea about it, but I never knew how much. Well, this kind of explains. Should I, because that's also an option. Thanks. I need to remove some tracks here. Now, let's make these a tad longer. Why didn't it work? No. The heck? Please change this. Will already have its influence on the game the moment I pull it up. Right. It's not looking nicely as well. I'm not really in the mood to change all that today. Because right now it's going to take a while before we actually got the first station showing up. And that's what I mean about the lagging. This basically shows what I mean. We've got two paper industries very close by. And remove the last one. Two trains of this is actually the thing that I'm talking about. The calculation of the route and everything the train has to do before it starts showing up. This is what I don't want to show you. It's simply happening because there's so much on this map. There we are. But it takes time for the game to get everything going. So let's go with him. Once everything is moving up a little bit, there we go. Yeah. Will be loading up enough. So once everything is going, and that's the nice thing, as you can see here, once everything starts going, it runs fine, but it's the starting that takes so long. Let's ride along with this train, because we won't have that much to do anyway. The other thing I was thinking to tell people is a while ago I actually never understood that patch well enough. A while ago there was a patch out which is eventually released as the think it's 1.8 patch, which among several things also solve the problem with cities receiving goods that aren't there. The situation I had with La Rochelle. La Rochelle was for some reason having a warehouse at some point where grain was stored to be delivered. I demolished that warehouse, but the delivery never got. As a result, my trains never delivered. Train to La Rochelle, other things didn't work. The city didn't grow at some point anymore. And eventually the result of that was that it basically vanished from me. And over here we actually see what I meant about the thing I need to change. Because this whole part of the tracks are not the way they should be. Traffic wise, we're going to do a roller coaster ride. That's why it's also the only time I'm going to ride one of these. So the patch solved that bug. If you merge with an AI company and you remove their warehouses, at some point you actually won't have a ghost warehouse with ghost goods, which are going to supply to a city. So, where is La Rochelle? We still have this, but if I click at the city, we used to have grain waiting, grain coming in, 11 loads, 11 cargo loads, grain coming in. That's gone. That was blocking a lot. We had the corn, the lumber, some beer. So that is all done, which basically means that let's see where they are going. Something else. I think it's still on manual. Because I hoped that manually loading, unloading would solve the problem, and it didn't. So let's just ride along with him. At this point, everything should slowly be delivered to La Rochelle, which means at some point we will actually see the city growing again. Showing up with houses and all of that, and at some point when I'm able to build a library, problem solved. So yeah, those were the important things that somehow is related to everything since the last episode on today's. A new DLC with all the changes. A patch with some important changes. And my big dilemma. regarding the dilemma, I can only say, please let me know what you think. Should I continue with this one, or should I simply pause it, continue by myself, and eventually, if slash when it's to the point that I'm about to reach the final goal, which is all industries, all technologies unlocked, do a recording so I can share with you the achievements. If you folks would like me to continue, then the first step will be to enter Britain. And hopefully I'm also able to focus a little bit more on the new industries and get everything worked out a lot better. No promises, because the game will be becoming more and more slow. If you folks think that it's a better idea to simply let me continue the game and record the final episodes when I achieve the last technology being discovered, then I have to consider what I'm going to do the week after. Because I still want to fill in the recordings on Mondays. I just don't know what it's going to be. I do have some ideas, but the problem is my hard drive is slowly but surely getting full. Especially the Steel Dragon DLC ate a chunk of all my storage space. And I'm working on improving that, so see, over time everything will be better. Or at least I hope. So yeah, what else? Well, this is of course number one. Am I mistaken, or have they actually finally, hopefully, removed that so annoying use of the whistle all the time? It almost sounds like it. Or is it just quiet because we don't see any trains coming in and out right now? That's also a possibility. I think it was to the with my comment. Check this train using Waverley class. Okay, I'm going to replace this. Yes, Waverly is faster. However, the traction speed is terrible. And you already noticed in some areas that it's not the best train for cargo transport. So I'm going back to the Bourbonnais. It's a little bit more slow, which is a disadvantage. But at the same time, the tractive power is higher. And because of that, it's leaving stations faster, which for the flow is better. It will accelerate faster. Let me check the speed, 59 to 70. And actually, I had the Rhine before that doing 62. But tractive power 43. Tractive power 58. Tractive power 46. So its acceleration is actually a little bit faster than that of the Rhine. The speed is better, but eventually, even while this one is a little bit more slow, it's going up that fast that when it leaves a station, it clears the station a long time before it's actually at the 59 speed, while the Waverly will be very slow still at that point. So the Bourbonnais is outperforming him. That's why I did this. But for the first time, yeah, this happens every once in a while now. For the first time in a long time, I see this arrow. Which means the city is growing. Okay, the annoying horn isn't gone. Right now, that negative balance is something I'm not that worried about. First of all, my other trains are completely able to deal with that, considering the 3.5 million profit I make a week. That's number one. And second of all, as said, I expect things to change once La Rochelle is actually growing again. Hopefully at some point we will be seeing people walking around streets, houses here. Looks good to see that the city is actually growing. Arrow of population rising, the arrow is there. Like I said, that's wonderful. because we didn't have that way for a very long time. Just realized I'm able to get the different time frames trains recorded in one recording instead of separate ones. I actually may be able to make complicated love English. Hey, where are you going? That's not where it's supposed to go to. It's supposed to go that way. Very odd. Oh, never mind. This whole train and route is completely screwed up. Because it's supposed to go this way and it's heading to that one. And right. Roussel. There's Roussel over there. I'm going to copy this one. Hopefully everything works now. Fournier, where's Fournier? Up here. So it's 1.1, but it's the first train, so it's 111. Let's add it that name. Because there's ones too many ones. Let's see how things are going this time. Hopefully it works out the way it should. At least it's being loaded with rain. That's good. So we were at 34 kilometers an hour when we cleared the station. Waverley can't mount that. It's almost as if I'm found in a new city. At least this train is going to run on a profit. Beer industry is working, which is good. Cloth isn't. But over time, that should too. Actually exporting goods, which is also good. So that part works. Very likely I'll be messing up things with the manual train settings with the last episodes. But yeah, these things happen. This is what I mean about the tractive power in the acceleration. Look how fast we're going from 30 40s. guys, if you can compare this to our express trains at some point, which have a higher average speed with a lower track crowd. So at the moment, trains actually leave the same station, but different trains leaving the station. It's very nice to compare which one is going faster. So far they're all going in the other direction. That's a bug that still needs to be dealt with, but it's not going underground at some point. And see how fast it accelerates. That's the reason why I picked a slower train and a public transport. But obviously the annoying whistle blowing is not. yet. Probably no. Stations and still stations and interstates. No roads. Very weird if you compare this to Nantes, for instance. Or Bordeaux. 75% demand fulfilled. The only thing that's missing is meat. Meat and clothing. Let's see. Neither. Okay. Well, no clothing on this one. I think Bordeaux is doing... No. Nantes is doing clothing. So why am I not visiting Nantes? What if... do this. I think I'm ending it here for us for today, but let the game run for myself for a while. I'm letting the game run for myself for a while to see how things are going regarding La Rochelle and the research. I will unlock the polishing, so we're getting some more money back, but I also need to unlock the curves. Probably doing that one first. We had bought that one in auction, but I'll see how far I get. And like I said, I'm curious what's going to happen with La Rochelle if we actually start seeing people at some point. So that's why. For now, everybody, thanks for watching. I do hope you've been enjoying this. I did. Seeing the change regarding that bug that was bugging me. Yeah, sorry for the pun. Well, that problem is solved. In La Rochelle helps. It's certainly nice to see that one being done. And it's heading in the wrong direction now. Because I added that station probably. So that part is solved. It was nice showing you the parts of the new DLC. That too. And I just hope things are going to be do I have a grid? Things are going to be working out fine. So for now, thanks for watching everybody, and I hope to see you next week. Have a good week. Goodbye.